It's the people podcast of the DMV. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's about we, and God we trust. Sir Rod and Lady Z, PTP. Good evening. Welcome. It's People to People with Rodney Grimes. I am always excited to come to you and talk to you about what's going on. You know how I do. I always try to make things happen, get into making it so that we bring good information to you. I have a phenomenal guest in the house, and you know I'm doing my magic, so when y'all see me looking away, y'all just hanging there with me and watch what I do. And I'm going to introduce her in a few minutes. I got to get the screen and everything set up, and let's see how we going, because it's all right, just a second, and there we go. All right, okay, and good evening again. It's People to People with Rodney Grimes. I would like to introduce my guest. I'm gonna have this young lady, this beautiful young lady, to introduce herself. If you can go to 2 for me. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful, Rodney. How are you, sir?
So I want you to pronounce your name properly so I don't mess it up.
It is Tarrazzia.
Tarrazzia.
Mm-hmm.
Tarrazzia.
Yes.
And Miss Tarrazzia, can we just tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Tarrazzia Martin, and I've been with the government for over 30 years. I've worked across multiple agencies in government to include Treasury, GSA, IRS, the CIA, Homeland Security, Immigration, just done a lot of different work around the areas of technology evolution for our government. And on top of that, I also have a nonprofit called UTOPIA, where we are focused on addressing a lot of the plight that we're seeing around the country in dealing with disadvantaged individuals, but certainly the area of homelessness. Since the pandemic in 2019-20 timeframe, we've seen an increase of the homeless population in terms of being over the age of 62. So many of the people that we're seeing on the streets are these elderly folks who don't have support systems and do not have places to live. And so part of what we're doing is really focusing on that group to provide them 360 services, the kind of services they need to have a whole life. Because as you know, those that are on Social Security are only getting a certain dollar amount. Many of them can't afford rent under those circumstances. So our goal is to try to help with that. I also have another organization called USNIA, which is the United States National Intelligence Agency. And I love that name. I hope you love it too.
I do.
And that organization, founded with my partner, is really an opportunity for us to go into communities and teach them how and what law enforcement really is. Teaching them how to use a weapon, how to use asbeton, how to use, handcuffs, and actually understand the laws and the anticodes so we can protect our communities as needed. There's a big dichotomy between the law enforcement organizations and our communities. And our goal is to actually build that thing called community policing. And so it's a huge part of what drives us every day. We've seen the killings around the country, we've seen the miscommunications around the country, and our objective is to bridge those gaps through training, education, and then offering jobs.
That is amazing. So you really have your plate full.
Yes.
Sleeping
is an option.
I'm going back to the part where you actually for the UTOPIA.
Yes.
Okay. So how long have the foundation been in operation?
So we started the foundation in late 2020, but actually had it officially created in 2021. It started with a great idea where we were seeing the homeless population really suffering in different parts across our country. And based upon our research, we realized that the largest, what they call RIA numbers, for the homeless are in the California area. So San Francisco, Oakland, San Diego, LA County, those areas are just infiltrated with homeless individuals looking for a solution. They're infiltrating the restaurants, they're infiltrating the retail stores because they just want to have a place to wash their face, want a place to brush their teeth.
Yeah.
Also, Tucson, Arizona, and parts of Arizona are also very high with the population. So we're very focused on those 5 areas and the DMV and finding solutions to help these individuals have what I call a 360 solution. Because many nonprofits are offering one solution. Here, I can help you with food, I can help you with clothing, I can help you with these various things. But they don't offer what I call the Maslow hierarchy of services, which is care and feeding and longevity. Because many of the homeless shelters will have you stay 1 night or 2 nights, and then they boot you out and you gotta re-register, come back in. It's very disrespectful. I think people feel offended by the process. And we don't want that experience for them. So we're offering and we're promoting collaboration with other nonprofits to create this environment that I speak of.
So when dealing with these individuals, do the organization provide mental health assistance?
Absolutely, because of our veterans, of course, but also because many of our individuals have they've suffered with, just mental breaks. I mean, this mental health issue is an epidemic in our country, and it's because of the food we eat. It's because of, drugs that we're being given by different organizations as well as ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, yes, a big part of what we want to offer is that sort of collaboration with these mental health organizations, but to also talk about homeopathic treatments, naturopathic treatments that will offer you non-drug treatments, but changing your diet, changing the way you eat, thinking differently about how you live so that you can become a better whole person.
Yes.
So absolutely, mental health is a huge part of it.
One of the things that I realize in these years here, we are now starting to become more aware of the mental health crisis, but also just the overall lifestyle that plays a factor in many people ended up being homeless. I'm one that mentor in different areas, and I do not like for people to pass judgment on a person who they see that's in a bad situation, because they don't know how they got there.
Absolutely.
And each one of them have a story.
Absolutely, and I think part of what we've seen, to your wonderful point, is that we've seen people, we grow up and we have these sort of isms ourselves, and we have these judgment calls that we make based upon our own parameter. But we really don't know until we put ourselves in the other person's shoes. That's called empathy. And if people really have empathy, they're not thinking about their experience or putting themselves in the other person's position and saying, what could they have been through? What experiences did they have? Did they have a terrible home life? Were they abused as a child? It goes on and on and on. But once you put yourself in their situation or try to, then you can soften your heart. Stop judging, because we all can be judged, right?
Yes.
The Bible speaks about this all over the place.
Yes.
But to be objective and really to not have condemnation, but to have love in your heart. And when we think about New Utopia, the title of the organization, it is about that utopic environment where it is all love, no judgment, caring for each other, being passionate for each other, being able to take your shirt off your back and give it to someone else. It's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
And not to be too spiritual about it, but it's totally about that.
Right.
Remember that old ism, what would Jesus do?
Yes.
That's where we have to be in order to move this world to the better place that it ought to be.
That is really a situation where we all should be starting to move in that direction. I really see that that in the future. I think that a lot other individuals who have businesses and things of that nature will start to come together and realize that we need to network in these areas to be able to help one another. I always say I am my brother and sister's keeper.
Absolutely.
And
thank you, Nino Oprah.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
So in that manner, I do what I can, and that's why I call the podcast "People to People."
I love it.
Because this is not about me. This is not about you. this is about us.
Absolutely.
And so each one of us, and we all have our struggles. Utopia, first of all, is this an organization that you founded on your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said you started in 2020?
Yes.
Okay. And so now, is it anything that you want to tell the public that that we can help, or is there something we can start doing to help support you?
Absolutely. But before we do that, I just want to say, Rodney, that this is the most amazing platform that you've provided for people like me who have a story to tell. But our goal, like you, is to spread the word and collaborate with others to build strength in numbers to make change. So compliments to you before I answer the other question, but I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today.
This is our platform.
Our platform.
Yes.
Humbly, I say thank you. So to your question, I think that what we're looking for is we're looking for donations. So we did a major donation push last week, and we're doing other donation pushes. And we're not focused on a number necessarily. We're focused on just getting people rallied around the concept of providing love and helping. Even if you can only bring a can of food, or if you can spend an hour, or if you can send $5 a month, or whatever it may be, we're open to all of that. Our goal is to take, start off small and grow, and that's what we're doing. We're collaborating with other organizations to kind of create these environments where we can find single-family homes and, really purchase those homes and make them available for 4 families.
Yeah.
And then we add another 4 families to another, fourplex. And then, we're looking at hotels in the area. There are abandoned hotels all over the country. And businesses have left them abandoned. Since the pandemic, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So finding those abandoned hotels, converting them into living space, parks. I was telling my assistant, Sabrina, the other day that, I was in Tucson a couple of weeks ago at a conference. Driving around Tucson, Arizona, it's like a ghost town. There are empty buildings, empty homes, everything just dilapidated stuff falling apart. But if we were able to buy a park and make that park, because there are homeless people inundated, it's surrounded, tents everywhere. The public can't go there and play with their kids because it's inundated already. What if the government stepped up and said, that's a park that we should convert into, small tiny homes for 100 or 200 families, and put, a plumbing situation in there, and training situation there, mental health solutions
Yes.
in there, and change the dynamic. It doesn't have to be the old model anymore. How do we take it to another level of pure love? No, it's not my responsibility, your responsibility. We're all accountable. How do we get to that? And that's really what we're pushing for. It's a holistic change in our mindset.
We have to do that, and it's kind of like, sometimes I try to talk to different people and tell them, let's get past the time where it's about me, and it's about we. Now, and I say that to say, we can start teaching people how to survive. We went through a rough time, and many of us, for the first time, saw what it was like to be hungry,
Yeah.
saw what it was like to be homeless, or to have your lights cut off, or we call in different organizations to ask them for help. With the last 3 to 4 years, with everything that transpired, me personally, I had to go back and I stay spiritual. I believe first, before anything, I put God first.
Absolutely.
And so by doing that, I always say that, what would God want me to do? How would He want me to treat people? How would He want me to help people? It's organizations like Utopia. And here, what we need to do is get the word out.
Yes.
I want to make sure that as we've got some time to talk, but I want to make sure that you can use this platform at any time for us to get the information out. I will be staying in touch with you so that you can give me information to share on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I will definitely do it.
What we want to do is we want organizations like yours and people to people and other people who are out there trying to do something. Like we have a organization called STAT DC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very, very good friend to my wife. The young lady, she goes out and they give food out every weekend, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I look at it and I be like, this is what I'm talking about, where you're going out and it's not for a dollar bill. It's all about just helping somebody, because you never know when the table will be turned.
Absolutely. We could be there tomorrow, one paycheck away from So I love that, and so as I mentioned earlier, this concept of collaboration. So what I've done in the last number of years is to research and realize that many of the nonprofits try to stand alone. They, I'm going to go out, I'm going to donate, I'm going to get money donated to me, and I'm going to do this one thing that I want. I'm going to offer a food pantry.
Right.
And I'm not begrudging them, because it's all beautiful, God's work, good stuff. And then another organization may go out and say, I'm going to make sure that there's a food drive, or excuse me, a clothing drive, and we'll make sure that we have clothing for individuals, and we'll provide those. But I think as we begin to step back a little bit and think more holistically about things, we really need to tap into the resources and leverage them to our overall goal, which is whole life for these individuals. Not, hey, I got you a meal for a day, have a good one,
Right.
Or I know you need some mental health treatment, but I'll just feed you today, and then we'll talk about it when I see you again.
Right.
Sort of an afterthought. But if we look at an individual and say, this person needs check, check, check. They need food, they need shelter, they need a job, they need training. They need someone to just give them a hug, show them some love, Those kinds of fundamental, I call it the Maslow hierarchy of needs, which is those basic fundamentals. Then perhaps it gives them a longevity and an opportunity, a feeling of hope to know that it's not just one, it's many supporting me. It's like they used to say, it takes a village.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're talking about here.
Actually, I saw this a few days ago. I forget the celebrity name, but she picked one gentleman who was homeless on the street, and she would go out and do things for him. And so just recently I saw it where she went out and she was calling him. He was standing in the corner, and when he saw her, he ran over to her. And she said, "Have you eaten today?" And he said, "No." And she was just talking to him. And he was just so happy that she cared.
Yeah.
So she gave him some money. He started crying. And he said, he was saying thank you, but she was letting him know, I'm here to take care of you. And she said, I've been looking for you. And so she had brought another gentleman to see what she was doing for this guy, which was now she's expanded it. And that's what we need to do. We got to get it to a point where we are actually open doors for other people.
Absolutely, and this is Holy Week, I think, that for those that believe in that, or whatever their belief system may be, but recognizing that this is the week where, Jesus gave up his life for us, and how hard is it for us to give up a can of food or time, right, to give someone a hug or to show them some love or attention. Many people just want to know that there's hope.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. And you see it flashing right there.
Yes.
Hope.
Keep hope alive.
We have to do that. It's just imperative. Many times I just think back on people who I've seen move in direction. My grandmother was one woman who always helped people, and I thought that was real, something real powerful about her. And she used to bring me with her, so it rubbed off on me. But I just get excited when I see foundations like yours that are trying to help people. Let's talk about that other part of you now with the law enforcement aspect. Okay,
absolutely.
so tell me a little bit about that.
So USNIA, the acronym, is a law enforcement organization. It's a privately owned organization. We provide private policing to various clients in the DMV, and we are expanding to the West Coast now and a few other places east. And what we do is we offer security guard services, armed and unarmed, and we also provide investigations services as well. So, and like loss prevention services to different clients. And our goal there is to, again, get people in the communities who are interested in learning about law enforcement. We have a training academy as part of the organization, and we train them on how to become a special police officer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you use a weapon properly, so you know how to load it, and you know how to shoot it, and you go to the range, and you're comfortable. Women and men. Women have to learn these skills. I'm an advocate for that. And once you learn those things, it gives you somewhat of a sense of confidence, but you don't have to be bullied. I'm not saying go out and harm someone. I'm saying know the law. Know that what your rights are. And so we teach that. We teach the anticodes of the laws in D.C., for example. To be a special police officer in D.C. gives you the authority to operate just as if you were a police officer. It's called SPO. we teach those things to our officers so they know they have arrest authority. If the mayor designates them as an SPO, they have the same authority as Metropolitan Police. In Maryland, it's a similar rule called something different, but the training that we offer teaches them those things, teaches them how to support and protect. But in the case where law enforcement may not be doing things properly, the right way, you have an opportunity to have a dialogue, respectful, because you never want to, create angst in those situations. But it gives you a lot of knowledge and confidence in knowing you can protect yourself and you can protect your families. And I think that's huge. Back in 1989, DOJ called it community policing. And for years they've been providing grants to different communities around the country, teaching people community policing. But my contention is that community policing is where the community and the police come together for the joint goal of protection.
Yes.
And safety. It's not one vice the other. We're not here to battle with you. We're here to partner with you to protect our communities. And that's what we want to bring. We want to change that dynamic, and it starts with training.
I love that, because I think that in this day and time that we have come to an era where we think the police is the bad guy. And people have to understand, this is where I always tell individuals when I talk to them. Now, I've been harassed by some police officers, but they just another human being with a bad attitude.
Yes.
Not saying the police department, I said that person, individual. And so having an organization that teach you about these things, it also get you to the point where you know the law. Knowing the law puts them in a position where they have to respect you.
Absolutely. And if you know jurisdiction, which is the key to law, then you know what areas you have what authorities and how to operate in those authorities. We had a contract with I won't mention the name, but in DC, in a very bad area. And the first night we were on the job, this was a few years ago, someone walked down the corridor in this community where we had jurisdiction in this entire property management situation. Walked in with an AR-15 and just began to shoot people for no reason. Killed an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old sitting on their front porch. The jurisdiction allowed us to operate to help protect those folks. Metropolitan Police came in and there was a whole investigation. But the point I'm making is that we knew that if we would have had full jurisdiction, we would never have allowed that perimeter to be broken. Never allowed someone to come in with an AR-15. What need do you have to have such a weapon?
Right.
You're setting out for harm.
Yes.
It's not good. And so it's knowing those things, knowing that the community has a lot more power than they know to protect themselves against militia, against all kinds of things. And that's the knowledge we need to walk with every day.
Do this also applies with domestic violence?
Absolutely. So domestic violence is certainly within the jurisdiction of your local law enforcement entity. But let's say, if a wife or a husband in any situation knows the rules, we're not saying go and shoot your spouse.
Right.
But we are saying that if you know that you're in a frightful situation or unsafe situation, what the rules are to get yourself out of it. Situations happen all the time based on emotion. And so, we teach laws and rules, but emotion always clouds it up, It's, but yes, it does apply, absolutely.
Because we have a lot of individuals who also have these situations who need to understand about protecting themselves, understanding their rights. I always tell people, guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Absolutely.
A car does not drive by itself.
That's right.
But a car is a weapon if it's used in a weapon form. So a lot of people get the misconception, we got to get rid of all the guns. Let me tell you something. We know that when you use a gun properly and for the right reason, it serves a purpose, because some people feed their family with the weapon, right? But when you start to take it and use it to hurt, cause bodily harm, now it's not the gun that's the problem. It's the mind. And so that's what I'm loving about what you've been talking about with both of the organizations, where we are looking at helping people, getting people back on their feet, letting people know that it's okay, that you're not alone. I'm an ex-Marine. I've traveled halfway around the world. I've seen hungry people. I've seen people with eating some things that we use as pets. Okay.
Have a dog. Got you all right?
That got me choked up. But I say that to say, excuse me, that it was then that I realized. I said, you know, here in this country, we gotta look at how we go about things, because we take a lot for granted. And here, you know, a lot of people struggle in different areas. Let me drink some here. But overall, what we're in a time where we have to come together and we have to make a difference. You with UTOPIA, that foundation moved in the direction to help individuals who are in bad situations. I think it'll be good that individuals like myself, we build good relationships with one another. So that what we do is we figure out, okay, we're doing a fundraiser. Okay, well, let's do a fundraiser focus on somebody.
Yes, I agree with you.
You know, not just the foundation, but that's somebody.
A family.
Yes.
An individual. Yes, I agree. That's a great idea, and we can find a number of families. Like, there's so many out there. I'd love to take that up with you and
Yes.
partner to go and see what we can do to help a family have a sustained life. It would be wonderful.
I always when I was I played the lottery,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe that when you put something in the air, it manifests. Okay, so when I hit the lottery, one of my first things that I said I was going to do, I was going to go find me one person that I know that's struggling. I don't care. It might be a person sitting on the corner, or a family that's struggling. And I was going to walk up to them and I was going to ask them, first of all, do you believe in the higher being?
Mm-hmm.
I need them to tell me that they do. Because at that time is when I'm going to tell them that you are going to be blessed. And take and focus on that individual. Not to say, oh, okay, I'm going to give you a bath and see you.
Yeah.
No, but you're going to get a bath and you're going to get an apartment and you're going to get an opportunity to talk to a counselor. You're going to have a where you can also talk to a pastor, and we can find out why you where you are and what does it take to get you back on track. You know, and that is so important for the organizations who are out there saying they're really trying to help people. Sometimes it comes down, it's really about the dollar bill.
Absolutely.
We can't make it about the dollar bill. We need the dollar bill to survive, but we have to show where we are making progress in our communities with those people that are struggling. And what bothers me, and I don't want to make this a thing against our country, because I love being an American, but we have too many homeless people here. For we be sending money all outside of the country, billions and billions of dollars. But what about home? What about home?
Well, that's an excellent point. So I think for many years, at least in my experience, I can't speak for the government or their decision process, but for many years, no one was accountable for homelessness in our country, meaning no entity in the federal government owned homelessness. It was like HHS was doing its part, HUD was doing its part, you know, all these different organizations, but no one really was truly accountable. I think it was President Biden who may have helped really push the agenda to say, HUD, you know, take the lead on really helping us define this homeless situation, housing first, and then let's collaborate with other organizations to see what else we can do to offer the right services for the individuals in this situation. When that shift happened, HUD jumped in, and they have actually been doing a lot more proactive work to help figure out how to make it work. They haven't figured it out yet, but I do know that there's a lot of energy around that with HHS and other organizations. A lot of laws have been passed to say homelessness first. We've got to address homelessness. And so they're trying. But when you look at other countries, they have proactively, for years, been addressing it. It's not an issue because they love first.
Yeah.
It's not about the hierarchy. It's not about the government grant or the money or whatever.
Yeah.
It's about love first, caring for your human being a human being first. And that's what I think is missing. I think we're missing the concept of, and back to spirituality, is if you're looking at a human as you, we are one.
Yes.
And if you see that we're one, then how can you not help your fellow man? And we're so selfish, and we as a people generally, not to be disparaging, but you know, we're just so caught up in our own stuff that we miss it. And I think, the big guys looking down and the big entities looking down saying, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I many times I feel like that as well. In my days when I'm meditating and I talk to Yah and I say, Father, please forgive me and forgive us, because for us to have this opportunity to have the will to know right or wrong, to help and not help, it makes a big difference. Now what I want to do is turn the tables just a little bit. I want to know more about you as an individual.
Uh-oh.
So where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from a very small town in Ogden, Utah, named Ogden in Utah. And I was born there, raised there. My grandmother and grandfather, actually, my grandfather he worked on the railroad. He was a chef on the railroad when they actually used to cook on the trains. And the West Coast was actually making the inroads to the Golden Spike, and all that stuff happened during their time. And they settled in this little town in Utah where there were very few of any minorities. It's a very high LDS community there. And my grandmother opened the first African-American business there called the La France Beauty Salon. And next to it was my Aunt Annabelle, who opened up something called the Porters and Waiters Club, which was where they sold Mexican food because of our Latino heritage. But they sold Mexican food and drinks, and so the porters would come through from California all the West Coast through Utah for their pit stop. And they would stop there and carouse and do what they do, and they get their hair cut. My grandmother would get their hair cut, do the women's hair, and then my aunt would feed them, and then it was just a social event. And that's how it all began. And I was born there with my siblings, 7 siblings, and we all just sort of have learned from that experience of being entrepreneurs and really trying to make a mark on the planet, like you were saying about your grandmother.
Yeah.
Teaching us that it's the only way to be.
Yeah.
First, grow your own. Take care of yourself. Be accountable for you. Don't count on anyone else to do it for you.
Yeah.
But then love first and share. And so that's how it started. And then I went to college there, the whole kit and caboodle, and then ended up coming here to work for the government. Working for the IRS initially, and I've been in the technology business my whole career. So building architectures, we're now focused on cybersecurity and all the technology stuff that we talk about every day. So my career has been beautiful. As I mentioned, I worked for the intelligence community for quite some years, and Homeland after 9/11. So I was able to see so many things that we can do differently.
Yeah.
Which is what has inspired me to do what I'm doing now.
And that's beautiful, and that's why I wanted to ask, just to get you to the point that you're doing this and you're looking out for other people and you're giving people an opportunity. There's so many of us need more people like yourself that can look back on what the opportunity that was given to them, and then take them and give them to somebody else. The knowledge and your experiences.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here.
I feel the same about you, so thank you.
Yeah. And so I'm just looking forward to moving forward. I'm in a transition in my life because it's not about me for real. No, and when I say that, it's not about me because I love Rodney. Okay, and I'm learning how to treat Rodney. Right.
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, I learn how to treat somebody else. So I'm very conscious of what I put in my body now. I'm very conscious of how when I approach another human being, because I remember and also think about how I want to be treated. So it makes a big difference.
It does, and one of the lessons that I've learned, I think, along with what you've said, is there's this concept of universal law. There's the spiritual realm. I'm all about it. I mean, I can't be more spiritual, I don't think. I mean, God, you'll tell me, but I feel like I'm in that really good spiritual place. I listen to the Holy Spirit. I listen to His guidance, or their guidance, and I feel moved by it. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I was, again, telling Sabrina this, but I have the hair on my neck is up because I'm up, I'm at 'em, I'm ready to go, I got my plan, I know what I got to do today, all those things. But I think the universal laws of love and treating people with respect and those basic tenets that we learned growing up, like from your grandmother, I'm sure, but those things about how you treat, what was that book? It was Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Yeah. Saying thank you, being gracious, just being of care of the other. Again, empathy.
Yeah.
That empathetic thing is just missing so much now. But I think knowing those things allows us to show that love to others, and not because we don't love ourselves, but because we love ourselves enough to know that we love others. And I think that's the breakthrough, you know. So that's the teaching. I think people like yourself, me, others, we have to spread that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're doing here. Our purpose is clear.
Yes.
You know.
And that again, with the podcast, this whole setting is for us to have this platform for you and I to be able to come together and put the information out. My slogan is people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. Okay?
I love it.
Yeah, and it's all about, when I explain it to people, I let them know, you are people, I'm people. They people. We people.
Yeah.
We talk about the power you possess, the power I possess, the power we possess together.
Yeah. Powerful.
And when we do it in a positive way, we become positive thinking people. And that's what God is all about. And when we do this collectively, it shouldn't be a man out there hungry. Not everybody, you can't help everybody. Not everybody gonna let you. But you can reach your hand out. And what I'm starting to say now, reach your hand out not all the time to be asking for something, but reach your hand out to be saying, I'm gonna pull you up.
Mm-hmm.
Reach your hand out to shake a hand just to say, you are not alone. Or rub them or pat them on the back and say, great job. We've gotten to the point we look at all the negative things. And I'm loving Utopia. I'm loving it. It's something, just with the name itself, it sounds powerful to me. You know, how did you come up with the name for it?
Well, we were out, my hubby and I, we were out brainstorming. We were just talking about, because I had a previous organization called Agape, and it was actually Agape Ministries. And we were thinking, okay, what is the ultimate goal? What would God really want? What's the goal where we're all living harmoniously and with love and respect, and nobody has to want for anything? And Utopia came to mind, of course. So we called it New Utopia, because it's the new level of utopia.
I love it.
The new level of love, the new level of forget anything you've ever read or heard, but bring yourself to a level where it's just so selfless that you're just in this sort of limitless mentality of love and giving, and it's just a phenomenal thing when you can get yourself there through meditation or through love or kindness or not focusing on self.
Yeah.
And that is really where God is. And that's when you know you're one. You're doing the right thing, when you can feel that in your spirit and you know it in your heart, and you get up and you're just like, wow, you're ready to go.
Yes, yes.
That's the feeling you want everyone to have, right?
Yes, yes.
It sounds a little crazy.
No,
but
it's
so
not.
true.
But you know something was so funny, because I mean, I've had that feeling the last few days, and I want to say this because listening to you and you're inspiring me even more so that I know I'm on the right track, because I'm coming in contact with individuals like you, and this letting me know this confirmation that God is already, He's put me on a journey, it's not my own. And as we move forward, I'm not a person that can quote a lot of scriptures from the Bible, but I can tell you that I do Bible study every week. And I know that during the process is in me, because God is in me. And through that process as I walk, it's not for me to really say it, I show it.
Yep.
People will see it
actions.
and feel it.
Yep.
And I just, with your foundation, I'm sitting here and I'm just trying to just keep a grip on myself, because I'm really excited, because I really want you to take me very serious, that I'm interested in trying to help in any way I can.
It's going to happen.
Okay?
It is done.
Yeah. So, you know, I have a couple of ideas that I think that we can talk about later. I want to hear more about some of the projects, and then I would love for somebody that you have brought through the foundation, that you would bring them to the program so that we could talk to and let them talk about what Utopia has done for them.
Definitely. We'll make that definitely happen. One of our programs, I just want to mention this small thing, is that we have a reentry program. Now, we haven't launched it yet because we're looking for the right leader to drive it home. But the reentry program is pivotal for, I think, minority communities, because so many of our African American brethren are, you know, incarcerated based on, you know, hey, I had a joint in 1980, or whatever the case may be. But getting them re-entered back into society and really acclimated, teaching them how to start their own businesses and how to grow their dream, that's a big part of what we want to do, and maybe at some point we can talk about that too, but I believe it's a huge opportunity for us to really break the broken cycle inside our communities with our men and our women. Many women are in prison because of some relationship issue they had, and they decided to take the law in their own hands and protect themselves, or whatever the issue is. But how do we get them into a mindset of education, training, and get them to understand their value and their worth, and that they are kings and queens, and they need to be out there making a difference for their families and themselves. And that's re-entry. So I think that's another opportunity we can talk about perhaps at another time. But I'm very passionate about that, and we're looking for leaders to help us drive that home. So if you have any suggestions on that, it is a huge opportunity for us to do that.
Lazy, you have a question for us?
Yes, Tarrazzia Martin, a awesome woman of God and business owner. You have such a big heart to help the underprivileged. Please share your website address.
Yes, ma'am. It is New Utopia -INT International INT.org. ORG.
And you repeat that one more time.
New Utopia -INT.org.
That also, and I didn't take that. I'm so intrigued with sitting here listening and talking to you. I'm gonna open up the phone lines if anybody want to call in. The number is 703-752-6120. If you want to call and ask some questions about Utopia or about even the law enforcement aspect of things, please give us a call at 703-752-6120. This is an opportunity for many people to be able to ask questions that can help you change your life. When we have individuals like this beautiful lady here we have sitting here and talking about Utopia and the other program itself, that's something that gives people an opportunity to better themselves. It is powerful.
I get excited every time I talk about it. I just feel like the adrenaline rush is just phenomenal, because I just am so passionate about what we can do if we just try.
All we got to do is, again, what I try to get people to understand, it's not for you to look and say where they're gonna get more than I get, or they're gonna get a better car, a bigger house. It's not about that. It's about the avenue of saying, you know what, I helped somebody find peace and joy in their life.
Absolutely.
That's how I felt when I became a United States Marine. Many times when I saw how people gravitated to us and when we came and they felt safe, when I brought that back with me and I came back home and I realized that it's more to just the uniform itself. It was just me carrying myself as that individual.
The example.
Yes. And so now that's part of my goal. So I got some ideas that I'm working with some different people. We're trying to get it where we're getting ready to expand the opportunity for people to start being able to get the information easier. We can get the news. You can watch the news every morning, right? We can hear about killing, robbing, carjacking. We hear about the weather, okay?
Yeah.
And we hear about the lawmakers who break the law and some of them just making the law, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what about the homeless people? What about that individual who want to live by the law but need to learn how to conduct themselves as a law enforcer?
Yeah.
What about those individuals who saying, you know what, I know what it's like to be homeless because I was there, but now I have my own business.
Yes.
And we talk about these things. That's what we need to start to project. And that's what this program, this platform, I'm excited. Utopia is going to be added to the board with these other individuals.
Thank you.
Oh, for sure. And you're going to give me as much information so that I could be talking about it. We Motivation Monday, let's talk about it Wednesday, are my days that I like to share something that helps people to move forward. And on Wednesday, I tell them we can talk about anything. As long as we're not going to be downplaying or disrespecting anybody, I want to hear people's story.
Absolutely.
I want to know what's going on. I want to be able to say, hey, this person went through this. This person prevailed. This person had this drug problem, but they understood how to get out of that situation.
That's right.
Or they was in an abusive situation. They got to learn the law from different avenues in the organizations like yours.
Absolutely, sir. And back to the idea of collaboration is finding those organizations who are focused on mental health and all those other things, and not be so self-serving that it has to be about you, the entity. It's about the process and the mission.
Yeah.
And if we can make that subtle, kind of significant mind change, then we can open up the kimono to all those things. And it is missing today. I did want to mention something that you said about the news. So I actually don't watch it anymore, because it is the worst form of what I consider mind manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
It puts you almost 90% of what you're hearing is negative.
Yes.
And 90% of it is creating isms and stereotypes about whoever the entity they're speaking about is, be it against politicians or your neighbor or some ethnic group or whatever it is. And this is where I think we have to meditate and focus on the what would Jesus do question, right?
Yeah.
So it should all be invisible to you. What their issue, what they look like, how they are. It should be spirits,
Yeah.
saving the souls, talking about souls, and making about the love of the soul, not the human body, not the third dimension, not these physical things. And I think that's another mind shift that we need to collectively make, is move beyond that. We shouldn't judge. Listening to that negative squawk box, all it is feeding more negativity into cultures that we can't sustain it.
That in itself is something, because even first thing in the morning when you cut the news on and you're hearing about, some young black American kid jacked another car. But that kid wasn't the only kid that did something wrong in that night.
But called out to be, though.
But called out to be. And we find it where we start, even myself as a black man, I start to look at it and I start to feel bad. Man, what's going on with my people?
Right.
Because all I hear is the negative, negative, negative. But what about that young guy, the young black American guy that's gone to college, that's got straight A's? And it's not even just the American black guy, but I'm talking about the white guy and the Hispanic and the Asian, all of them. Let's talk about that. Let us start our mornings off like that.
Yeah.
I start mine off facing the east, giving praise.
Absolutely.
First thing, as soon as I open my eyes, I'll be like, thank you, God, for another day. And I ask that I be a blessing for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And,
that's exciting. That's where your spirit is, and that's the teaching we have to do, which is what you're already doing. It's teaching the next one. There's a project that I'm working with out of Oakland called the Hidden Genius Project.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hidden Genius Project is a project where I have several friends that are actually leading that board and leading that group. But their number one goal is to educate young African American men, not just African American men, but that's what they're focused on at this moment, but to bring them up to know that they're geniuses already, that they already have the skill and the ability to do whatever they want. Forget the news, forget the negative vices. Focus on what you know you have innately in you and use it and leverage it and learn from it and grow. And then make an example for the next generation. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're teaching them cybersecurity, technology skills, leadership skills, how to be a man skills, things that sometimes families without fathers don't have the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
So they're creating an environment for that kind of energy and scalability. But that's what you're talking about. We just have to take those really great ones and bridge them together and make a difference.
One of the things since I've been here at this location out here in Tyson Corner, some of the networking events, I've been really intrigued by them. One of the things that I've learned about networking, how important it is, that we learn how to do it and make it so it's beneficiary, not just for us as an individual, but us as a group. And so I say that to say that I have something coming up real soon that I will be getting in touch with you about. It is a networking event that's going to be done, but I want to have the different people that's going to be talking about their projects and the things they're doing, what they're bringing to the table. We're talking about UTOPIA, letting people know. I have individuals who I grew up with who used to be drug dealers that now some of them pastors, writing books.
Wonderful.
You know what? And the transition of it is that we come together and collectively now start to network. And that's one of the things that's really important. So what we have to do is we got to keep UTOPIA alive, people alive, and many others.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, your success is mine.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Because when I can get on the phone and call you and say, you know what, I got a young person that's really struggling, and we trying to get them to move in a direction where they'll be able to see life in a different perspective. And you say, oh, well, we just got a program that we got where we can take care of this individual. Phenomenal.
Absolutely. And measurable.
Yes.
You know, it's not like, okay, we helped them and gave them a plate of food.
Yeah.
You know, we sent them home. But we're actually giving them sustainable options to live and to prosper.
We really, I'm hoping everyone that possibly joined into this conversation, I want you to understand something. It's important that we make it not about yourselves. We've got to get to a point where we're really making a difference. I'm talking about teaching your children at a young age about networking and entrepreneurship, but about giving and helping your brother and sister. And it doesn't mean by the color of your skin. It's talking about the human race. We've got to get past this I'm better than you syndrome, or I have more than you, or because you are living in the projects that you are poor. Hey, let me tell you something. I've seen many people come out of the projects to become very, very powerful individuals. And a lot of people who made mistakes get into organizations like yours, and they have an opportunity to be able to come and correct those mistakes. But we got to talk about them, and we got to show them that we are here to support them. I am so excited about that.
Yes.
And this is a real honor for me to be able to say that I now know a lot more about Utopia and the law enforcement. USNIA.
United States National Intelligence Agency.
So when it comes down to that, right? As far as that, is that a course that they go through or something like that?
So there's a series of courses. We offer unarmed security guard training. We offer armed security guard training. We also offer special, like sort of special tactics training, which is to teach you how to use your body as an enforcement tool versus a weapon. So that is what the officers should do, but they always bring out the weapons, right? Try to use that as lethal force. So we try to teach non-lethal force training so we can protect ourselves in time of need, women and men. And then we also offer FPS training, which is Federal Protective Services, so working for the government, working at federal contracts and that kind of thing. But that's all part of it, and then we're also launching our cybersecurity classes for technology training on how to protect your data and your assets and your perimeters, like access control. So different courses like that, and so it's a whole curriculum of different things, but it's all about protecting.
Is it expensive?
So the classes aren't expensive. It depends on how you couple them together, but they're commensurate with the market right now. But you have to, pay to play a little bit because you want to have the best instructors, the best training, because there are a lot of organizations that are out there feigning and pretending to offer training for a lesser price, but you're only getting snippets of the teachings. And we want to be holistic about it. I don't want to know how to use a weapon and not what the laws are. Right. I want to know the laws so I know how to use the weapon in the right way at the right time to protect myself. Someone breaks in my house, I know I'm protected because I'm in my domain. If I shoot you, I'm okay because it's self-defense.
Right.
Those are laws and jurisdictional rules, and we have to teach all of that. So the answer is they're not expensive comparatively. They're expensive if you don't want to know the whole story. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. But what I would like to also say to many people out there too, you got to invest in yourself. You got to take that time. Let me tell you something. Going to McDonald's all the time ain't gonna help you too much. Going to, and I'm not saying nothing against McDonald's because I said that. Was using that terminology meaning, when you're gonna put something in you here too. Put something in your heart. Put something that's gonna have you where you're gonna be able to walk and be proud of who you are. And stand up and, like you say, be able to protect yourself as well. You have the final word. I am so glad that you came. I want you to know that you are always welcome.
Thank you, sir.
And we're joining up with a new program that's going to be giving individuals the opportunity to see the podcast on Roku.
Okay.
So that's I'm working with a gentleman typical entertainment. I got to get all the information, but I'm saying that to say that soon it's going to be available for people to be able to get this information without having to leave their home.
Wonderful.
We're working on that. So you have the last word, please. You can look into the camera right there and let them know exactly. You want to make sure you let them know how to get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
And talk about both a little bit about both businesses.
All right, my name again is Tarrazzia Martin StClair, and you can contact me through New Utopia Foundation, which is newutopia-int.org, or you can contact me at usnia.com, which is our website component for both organizations. My last word is thank you for being here today and listening to us. We will make a plea that we're looking for donations to start helping those families in a quantifiable way to help change their lives. So thank you for having me today, sir. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And you are welcome anytime.
Thank you.
And everybody that just tuned in, remember, it's People to People.
The People Podcast of the DMV.
Of the DMV.
It's not about you.
The people.
It's not about me. It's about we. And God we
Thank you,
trust.
Rodney.
Sir Roy and Lady Z. PTP.
Positive thinking people. We want to make sure that I can get together and talk a little bit more about some of the things that I can do to help promote what's out there. So I'm just really excited.
It'll be an honor.
Yeah.
It's a great day.
Every Wednesday night,
Every Wednesday,
every Friday night,
Friday,
every Monday night,
Monday,
every Wednesday night,
every Wednesday,
every Friday night,
Friday day
every
night,
Monday night,
Monday,
every Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
PTP, positive thinking people. PTP, positive thinking people.